Stop, put the fork down. Before you take another bite of that breakfast, we need to have a serious conversation. Because if you are eating eggs every morning, thinking you are fueling your body, you might be right, but you might also be unknowingly accelerating brain aging and setting yourself up for serious memory decline. It sounds dramatic, doesn't it? For decades, we were told eggs were the villain. Then, we were told they are a superfood. But there is a third, hidden chapter to this story that almost nobody talks about. It is not about the egg itself. It is about a specific, dangerous chemical reaction that happens when you make one common mistake in the kitchen. A mistake that turns a memory-boosting superfood into a biological weapon against your own neurons. Hello, I am Dr. Kenji Sato, and welcome back to the Senior Wellness Center. My mission here is simple: to bridge the gap between cutting-edge modern science and the timeless wisdom of longevity. We are not just trying to add years to your life. We are trying to add life to your years, especially once you cross that 60-year milestone. I have seen too many patients come into my clinic terrified of their own food, paralyzed by headlines that change every week. They want to stay sharp. They want to remember their grandchildren's names 20 years from now. But they are making small errors that cost them dearly. Today, we are going to fix that. We are going to look at the humble egg, not with fear, but with precision. Because when prepared correctly, it is a miracle. But when prepared wrong, it is a metabolic disaster. Let's dive in. If you are feeling confused or frustrated by nutritional advice, let me tell you right now, you have every right to be. Think back to the late 1970s and early 80s. Do you remember the cover of Time magazine? The sad face made of bacon and eggs? We were told, with absolute certainty, that cholesterol was the enemy. We were told that eating an egg was equivalent to asking for a heart attack. So, what did we do? We threw away the butter and bought margarine. We dumped the yolks and bought cartons of processed egg whites. We replaced nutrient-dense whole foods with low-fat, high-sugar cardboard, thinking we were saving our hearts. But that advice was based on a fundamental misunderstanding of human biology. It treated your blood vessels like simple kitchen pipes that get clogged with grease. The reality is far more complex. You see, cholesterol is not a poison. It is a building block. In fact, it is so essential to your survival that your liver produces about 1,000 to 2,000 milligrams of it every single day. If you stop eating cholesterol, your liver simply works overtime to produce more. Why? Because every single cell membrane in your body requires it to maintain structure. Your hormones, testosterone, estrogen, cortisol, they are all made from cholesterol. Without it, your body literally cannot communicate with itself. But here is the most critical statistic for anyone over the age of 60. While your brain makes up only about 2% of your body weight, it holds 25% of your body's entire cholesterol supply. That is not an accident. That is by design. Your neurons need cholesterol to form synapses, which are the connections that allow you to think, learn, and remember. Multiple studies have now shown that in older adults, naturally low levels of cholesterol are actually associated with a higher risk of cognitive decline and Parkinson's. So, simply avoiding eggs because of cholesterol is like avoiding water because you are afraid of drowning. You are depriving your brain of the very raw material it needs to repair itself. However, this does not mean you can eat eggs however you want. The what is safe, but the how can be deadly. The danger was never really the cholesterol molecule itself. The danger is what happens to that molecule when we mistreat it in the kitchen. This brings us to the invisible enemy that has been hiding in your frying pan all along. It's not cholesterol. It's something much worse. So, what exactly is the problem? It all comes down to temperature. When you take that delicate yellow yolk and expose it to high heat, you trigger a chemical reaction. You are essentially forcing oxygen to bind with the fat molecules at a rapid rate. In chemistry, we call this oxidation. To understand what this does to your body, I want you to visualize a clean, shiny iron chain. That is healthy cholesterol. Now, imagine that same chain left outside in the rain for a month. It becomes brittle, orange, and flaky. It rusts. When you overcook egg yolks, you are literally rusting the fats. you are creating a compound called oxysterols. This is where the story gets frightening. Your brain is protected by a highly selective filter known as the blood-brain barrier. Think of this barrier as the world's strictest security guard. It stands at the gates of your brain and refuses entry to toxins, bacteria, and most foreign substances. Under normal circumstances, your brain tightly regulates how much cholesterol gets in. It makes its own because it trusts its own supply. But oxysterols are sneaky. Because they look similar to cholesterol, but are structurally warped. They act like a biological Trojan horse. They can slip past that security guard. They cross the blood-brain barrier with terrifying ease, carrying their oxidative damage directly into your neural sanctuary. Once they are inside your brain tissue, they don't build structure, they destroy it. They act like little grenades of inflammation. Research has linked high levels of these oxysterols to the formation of amyloid plaques, the sticky, toxic clusters found in the brains of Alzheimer's patients. They create oxidative stress that damages the mitochondria, the power plants of your brain cells. The lights literally start to dim in your mind. And here is the hard truth that might ruin your breakfast. The main source of these oxysterols is the frying pan, specifically that brown, crispy, lacy edge of a fried egg that so many of us love for its texture. That crunch is the sound of oxidation. That brown color is the visual evidence of heat damage. When you eat that crispy edge, you are not just eating overcooked protein. You are injecting a concentrated dose of brain rust directly into your system. So, if you are eating eggs to protect your memory, but you are frying them until they are rubbery and brown, you are actively working against your own goal. But sadly, the frying pan isn't the only way you might be ruining your eggs. The second villain isn't a cooking method, it's a partner. Let's picture the classic complete breakfast we see in commercials. 2 eggs, maybe a side of bacon, a stack of white toast with jam, and a tall glass of orange juice. It looks balanced, doesn't it? Protein, carbs, vitamins. But metabolically, this plate is a disaster zone for your brain. The problem here is not just the sugar. It is what happens when you mix fats and proteins with a massive spike of sugar. When you drink that orange juice or eat that white toast, your blood sugar rockets up. Your body floods with insulin to manage it. In this high-sugar environment, the proteins and fats from your eggs undergo a process called glycation. Imagine dipping a cotton ball in sticky syrup and letting it harden. That is essentially what is happening to your cells. This reaction creates a sticky byproduct with a very appropriate acronym, AGES, Advanced Glycation End Products. These AGEs act like a superglue inside your body. They stiffen your blood vessels, they stiffen your skin, causing wrinkles, and worst of all, they gum up the machinery of your brain. This is why leading neuroscientists are now referring to Alzheimer's disease as type 3 diabetes. It is, in essence, insulin resistance of the brain. When your brain cells become resistant to insulin, they lose the ability to absorb glucose, their primary fuel source. They start to starve. They lack the energy to clear out toxins or repair damage. This is the biological root of brain fog and forgetfulness. So, think about the tragedy of this combination. You are eating the egg, which contains the nutrients to build your brain. But then you wash it down with a glass of juice that creates the insulin resistance, which prevents your brain from using those nutrients. You are pressing the gas and the brake at the same time. You are taking 1 step forward and 2 steps back into cognitive decline. This is why the standard American breakfast is one of the most dangerous meals of the day for a senior citizen. If you want to stay sharp, the toast and the juice have to go. They are not neutral. They are active saboteurs. Now, I can hear you thinking, Dr. Sato, you've scared me enough. Is there any good news? Yes, there is. Because inside that egg yolk, if you treat it right, is a nutrient so powerful, it is practically medicine for your memory. It is a compound that many of us are critically deficient in, and it holds the key to faster thinking and better focus. Let's talk about the hero of our story. For years, people ordered egg white omelets, thinking they were being healthy. They would crack the egg, keep the clear, tasteless slime, and throw the beautiful golden yolk into the trash. From a brain health perspective, this is a tragedy. It is like buying a Ferrari and removing the engine. The white is mostly just albumin simple protein, but the yolk is nature's multivitamin. And it contains a secret weapon called choline. Choline is not just a vitamin. It is a necessity. Your body uses choline to manufacture a critical neurotransmitter called acetylcholine. Now, what does acetylcholine do? It is the chemical messenger responsible for memory, learning, and focus. Think of your brain as a massive city. Your neurons are the buildings. Acetylcholine is the high-speed fiber optic cable connecting them all. When you have plenty of it, communication is instant. You remember where you put your keys. You recall names effortlessly. Your mind feels sharp. But when you are deficient in choline, those cables get cut. The signal becomes slow and fuzzy. This is the biological basis of senior moments. And here is the kicker. 90% of the American population is deficient in choline. We simply don't get enough of it. But guess what is the single richest source of choline in the standard diet? That's right, the egg yolk. One single egg yolk provides about 150 milligrams of choline. It is a concentrated dose of brain fuel. By throwing away the yolk, you are literally throwing away the medicine your aging brain is starving for. So, the goal is not to stop eating eggs. The goal is to eat the yolk in a way that preserves the choline but prevents the oxysterols. We need to cook the white until it's safe, but keep the yolk protected from the heat damage we talked about earlier. It sounds like a culinary tightrope walk, but I have a specific protocol that makes it easy. Let me show you exactly how to prepare your eggs to maximize the medicine and minimize the toxin. Now, let's get practical. How do we execute this in the kitchen? Here is the doctor-approved protocol for the perfect brain-boosting egg. The golden rule of egg cooking is a contradiction. We need to cook the white fully, but we must keep the yolk essentially raw or heated very gently. Why cook the white? Because raw egg whites contain a protein called avidin, which binds to biotin, a B vitamin essential for your hair and skin. If you eat raw whites long term, you risk a biotin deficiency. So, the white must be solid. However, the yolk is where the delicate fats and choline live. If the yolk is runny or jammy, it means the temperature stayed low enough to prevent oxidation. The classic method to achieve this is soft boiling. But let's be honest, it is a massive hassle. It's a guessing game. You drop the eggs in, you watch the clock like a hawk. 6 minutes, 7 minutes, 1 minute too long, and you have a chalky, sulfur-smelling hard yolk. 1 minute too short, and you have a slimy mess that you can't even peel. The shell sticks, you lose half the egg, and it ruins your morning. That is why I stopped guessing years ago. To make this habit stick, you need to remove the friction. I personally use a rapid electric egg cooker. This little device is a game changer. You just poke a tiny hole, add a specific amount of water, and push a single button. It uses steam, which is gentler than boiling water, to cook them to the exact perfect custard consistency every single time. No timing, no watching. It buzzes when it's done. I set it, go brush my teeth, and come back to perfect brain food. If you want to save time and stop fighting with eggshells, I have linked the exact model I use in the pinned comment below. It's a small investment for a daily health upgrade. Now, technically, the absolute gold standard for health is poaching. Because the egg is submerged in water, the temperature physically cannot exceed 212 degrees Fahrenheit. At this temperature, oxysterols cannot form. It is the safest way to eat an egg, but traditional poaching is intimidating. You have to create a whirlpool, add vinegar, drop the egg gently, and usually it just explodes into foam, and you are left with a mess to scrub. My hack for this is to use silicone poaching cups. These are brilliant little tools that float right on top of your boiling water. You crack the egg into the cup, cover the pot, and let it steam. 5 minutes later, you flip the cup and a perfect, round poached egg slides right out. No vinegar smell, no wasted egg whites, and zero cleanup. I've also linked a trusted set of these cups in the description for you. Finally, I know some of you love the frying pan. You want that savory taste. If you must fry, you have to use the steam-based technique. Do not blast the heat. Use low to medium heat with a healthy oil like avocado oil. Once the white starts to set, add a tablespoon of water to the pan and immediately cover it with a lid. The steam will cook the top of the egg without flipping it. This keeps the yolk protected and prevents those dangerous brown edges from forming. Remember, brown lace on the edge is not flavor, it is inflammation. It is rust. Cut it off. We want tender, white, soft eggs. That is the texture of longevity. So we have mastered the cooking. But we still have one problem. Not all eggs are created equal. And what if you are vegan or allergic? Now, before you run to the store, we need to decode the labels on the carton. Because the industry works very hard to confuse you. You will see terms like farm fresh, all natural, or cage-free. I want you to ignore these. They are mostly marketing fluff. Cage-free often just means thousands of chickens crammed into a giant warehouse, walking in their own waste, never seeing the sun. Sick chickens produce inflamed eggs. The gold standard you want to look for is pasture-raised. Pasture-raised hens roam outside and eat bugs, worms, and grass. This natural diet changes the chemistry of the egg. Studies show that pasture-raised eggs can have 3 to 6 times more vitamin D and significantly more omega-3 fatty acids than conventional eggs. The yolk will be a deep, vibrant orange, not a pale yellow. That orange color is the antioxidants. That is what you are paying for. But what if you are watching this and thinking, Dr. Sato, I hate eggs. Or maybe you are vegan, or you have an allergy. Does this mean your memory is doomed? Absolutely not. But it does mean you are at a high risk for choline deficiency. And as we discussed, your brain cannot afford to run low on this fuel. You need a safety net. If you cannot get choline from your diet, I highly recommend looking into a high-quality choline and inositol supplement. It is not as perfect as the whole food, but it is a critical insurance policy for your cognitive health. I have researched the options and listed a pharmaceutical-grade choline supplement that I trust in the description below. Check that out if you don't eat eggs. Finally, let's fix the toast problem. If we are taking away the bread, what do we put on the plate? We need a new partner. The best pairing for eggs is fiber and healthy fats. My favorite is avocado. Avocado adds creaminess to replace the toast, but more importantly, the fat helps you absorb the fat-soluble vitamins A, D, E, and K from the egg. Or try a bed of sautéed spinach. The fiber in the greens slows down digestion, keeping your blood sugar completely stable. This combination pasture-raised, soft-boiled eggs, avocado, and greens is the breakfast of champions for anyone over 60. It fights inflammation, it builds neurons, and it keeps your insulin low. It is the ultimate longevity meal. So here is the final takeaway. Do not fear the egg. Fear the frying pan and fear the sugar. By making these simple shifts soft-boiled instead of fried, avocado instead of toast, you are doing more than just eating breakfast. You are actively building a fortress around your memory. Your brain is the most expensive piece of real estate you own. You cannot trade it in for a new one. You have to protect the one you have, starting with your very next meal. To help you implement these changes today, do not forget to check the first pinned comment below. I have curated a list of the exact tools I use: the rapid egg cooker, the mess-free silicone cups, and the choline supplement for those who need it. These are small investments that pay massive dividends for your health. If you found this video helpful and want to uncover more lies about aging and nutrition, please hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. We are building a community here at the Senior Wellness Center that refuses to accept decline as inevitable. I am Dr. Kenji Sato. Thank you for watching. Protect your mind, cherish your health, and I will see you in the next video.